Hello, I'm Jim Jackson. During my second year at college, my life was forever changed at an early morning Bible study in my fraternity. I attended the study somewhat out of curiosity, and there God spoke to my heart through a few Bible verses, and I was what Jesus described as born again. I became alive to God. I got rid of the marijuana I'd used regularly, and I began to read the Bible and study about Jesus. My love for Jesus has grown over the past almost 50 years, and I have a passion for talking about him with others. I especially enjoy conversing with Muslims about Jesus because Jesus is a prophet in Islam. In fact, I've heard some Muslims say that they love Jesus more than the Christians that they see around them. However, few Muslims that I have met know much about what Jesus taught or did as recorded in the Bible. I decided to put together some basic lessons to help my Muslim friends get to know their prophet better. I hope you'll come with me on this journey to learn what the prophet Jesus taught. What did the prophet Jesus teach? Number one in a series, the lost son. The following is probably the most loved of the stories that the prophet Jesus taught. Jesus did much of his teaching in stories that his listeners could easily grasp and relate to. If you want to understand the very heart of the message that the prophet Jesus preached, take a few minutes to read this account from the Injil. Now all of the tax collectors and sinners were coming near him to listen to him. Both the Pharisees and scribes began to grumble, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. A man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the estate that falls to me." So he divided his wealth between them. And not many days later, the younger son gathered everything together and went on a journey into a distant country. And there he squandered his estate with loose living. Now, when he had spent everything, a severe famine occurred in that country, and he began to be impoverished. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would have gladly filled his stomach with the pods that the swine were eating, and no one was giving anything to him. But when he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have more than enough bread, but I'm dying here with hunger. I will get up and go to my father and will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired men.' So he got up and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion for him, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and in your sight. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quickly, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fattened calf, kill it, and let us eat and celebrate, for this son of mine was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. And he summoned one of the servants and began inquiring what these things could be. And he said to him, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound.' But he became angry and was not willing to go in. And his father came out and began pleading with him. But he answered and said to his father, 'Look, for so many years I've been serving you, and I've never neglected a command of yours. And yet you have never given me a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your wealth with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him.' And he said to him, Son, you've always been with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, for this brother of yours was dead and has begun to live, and was lost and has been found. You can find this story in the Injil, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15 of the Bible. It is actually the third of 3 lost things stories Jesus taught about. Although the message of the love of the Father for his straying Son clearly speaks of God's love for us, his sinful people, there are some cultural features of Jesus' Middle Eastern society that most of us today can easily miss. A parable is a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. The Pharisees to whom Jesus addressed this story were the religious leaders of that day. Pharisee means Holy One. Note that those religious leaders criticized Jesus for eating with the tax collectors and sinners. The scribes were the religious lawyers of that day, and Jesus addressed the story to them too. Tax collectors were considered betrayers of their communities, since they forcefully collected taxes for the oppressive Roman government and became wealthy by doing so. Sinners were the outcasts of society, the immoral people. When the younger son asked for his share of the estate, he was basically saying that he wished his father were dead. The younger son left his family, his community, his religion, and his country, and wasted his inheritance on immoral living, which was gravely shameful to the father and family. When the son had lost everything, he took a job feeding pigs. Pigs were unclean, and there was no job more shameful. Upon seeing his son coming up the road, the father ran to greet him. In that culture, it was unbecoming, even scandalous, for an elder to run like that. The robe, the ring, and the sandals symbolized that the father recognized the son as a son, not a servant. The fattened calf was reserved for respected guests, and of course the music and dancing highlighted the joy of the father. Notice the older son was a faithful servant to his father. For so many years I've been serving you, and I've never neglected a command of yours. The older son, in his faithful obedience to his father, became self-righteous and looked down on his brother. Jesus was pointing out that the attitude of the Pharisees and the scribes was the same as that of the older brother. The younger son experienced fellowship with his father in a way the older son never could. The younger son realized forgiveness, love, and acceptance that he could never have earned. It was all grace from his father. If you have a public comment about this passage from the Injil, please use the comment box. If you have a question, email me, and I will do my best to respond. Catch me at iwouldlovetotalk@gmail.com. Now, I hope you will join me for number 2 of the series to learn more on what the prophet Jesus taught about forgiveness.